Alright guys, let me tell you a wild story. So back in January of 1948, the US Air Force sent this super decorated pilot to check out some mysterious object flying over Kentucky. But here's the twist, he never came back. Yeah, you heard that right. And the explanations that came after? Well, they just left everyone with even more questions. Welcome back to They Are Watching Us. Today's mystery is a doozy. In the early afternoon of January 7th, 1948, the skies above central Kentucky became the setting for one of the most consequential and tragic encounters in early UFO history. What began as a routine military observation escalated into a fatal pursuit, marking the first widely publicized death linked to an unidentified aerial phenomenon. The Mantell UFO incident matters not because it offers easy answers, but because it exposes the limits of official explanations when confronted with persistent anomalies, conflicting testimony, and unanswered questions. The incident unfolded during a tense post-World War II period when the United States military was acutely sensitive to potential aerial threats. The Cold War was emerging, radar technology was advancing unevenly, and the public was already primed by a growing number of unexplained sightings across the country. Against this backdrop, the events in Kentucky were immediately framed as both a national security concern and a mystery demanding resolution. Shortly before 2 p.m., multiple observers, including state police officers, military personnel, and civilians, reported a large, bright object moving slowly across the sky near Fort Knox. Witnesses described it as metallic, circular, or conical in shape, and intensely luminous, appearing far larger than conventional aircraft and remaining visible for an extended period. Air traffic control at Godman Army Airfield, adjacent to Fort Knox, confirmed the sighting visually. The object was not behaving like known aircraft of the era. It showed no visible wings, produced no audible engine noise, and maintained altitude and brightness inconsistent with routine military or civilian flights. In response, the U.S. Air Force ordered an interception. 4 P-51 Mustang fighter aircraft from the Kentucky Air National Guard were scrambled. Leading the flight was Thomas F. Mantell, a decorated World War II veteran with extensive flight experience and a reputation for discipline and professionalism. As Mantell and his flight approached the object, 2 of the 4 aircraft turned back due to low fuel. A third pilot abandoned pursuit after reaching a safe altitude limit. Mantell alone continued climbing, intent on closing distance with the unidentified object, which he reported was still above him and increasing in brightness. Radio communications from Mantell were brief but critical. He reported seeing an object directly ahead and above, describing it as metallic and tremendous in size. These statements, recorded by ground control, constitute the last confirmed communications before his aircraft began an uncontrolled descent. Mantell's P-51 was not equipped with an oxygen system suitable for high-altitude flight. As he climbed above 25,000 feet, the risk of hypoxia increased dramatically. At approximately 3:15 p.m., his aircraft entered a steep spiral and crashed in a rural field near Franklin, Kentucky. Mantell was killed instantly. The immediate aftermath was marked by confusion and urgency. Wreckage analysis confirmed structural failure consistent with loss of consciousness rather than mechanical malfunction. No evidence of collision or enemy fire was found. The object Mantell pursued was never recovered, identified, or conclusively explained. The official explanation issued by the Air Force initially suggested that Mantell had been chasing the planet Venus, which was visible in the daytime sky. This explanation was quickly challenged, as Venus's position, brightness, and apparent motion did not align with witness reports or Mantell's flight trajectory. A revised explanation soon followed. The object was allegedly a Navy skyhook balloon, which is a high-altitude research balloon used for atmospheric studies. While such balloons existed, records indicate none were scheduled for launch in the region at that time, and their reflective properties did not fully match the prolonged, intense luminosity described by multiple observers. Witness testimony complicated the balloon hypothesis further. Several observers reported the object maneuvering deliberately, changing altitude and maintaining a stable orientation for hours. Behavior inconsistent with free-floating balloons subject to wind currents. Skeptics have argued that misperception, combined with limited understanding of high-altitude phenomena in 1948, could account for the inconsistencies. Yet even within official Air Force files, the case remained unresolved. The incident was ultimately categorized as unidentified, an admission that available data could not support a definitive conclusion. Importantly, Mantell's death introduced a human cost to the UFO question. This was not a fleeting light in the sky or an anonymous radar blip. It was an event that resulted in the loss of a trained pilot following direct orders during an official military operation. The Air Force's evolving explanations, shifting from Venus to balloons, raised concerns about transparency. Rather than clarifying the event, each new theory seemed to introduce additional contradictions, reinforcing public suspicion that crucial information was being withheld or minimized. Within the broader context of early UFO investigations, the Mantell incident predated formal projects like Sign and Grudge, helping shape the military's cautious and often defensive posture toward unexplained aerial reports. It became a reference point for how seriously, or selectively, such encounters would be addressed. The incident remains compelling precisely because it resists closure. Multiple credible witnesses, inconsistent official narratives, and the absence of definitive physical evidence combine to leave space for unanswered questions without forcing speculative conclusions. More than 7 decades later, the Mantell UFO incident stands as a reminder that not all mysteries yield to institutional authority. The facts are documented, the loss is real, and the object that drew a pilot to his death remains unidentified. The Mantell incident endures not because it offers certainty, but because it refuses to be neatly explained away. A trained military pilot, following direct orders, pursued an object witnessed by civilians, police, and multiple military installations. An object that behaved in ways inconsistent with conventional aircraft and resisted every official explanation offered afterward, whether labeled a planet, a balloon, or a misjudgment born of its time. The documented facts remain unchanged. Something anomalous was present in the sky that day, and the explanations provided have never fully accounted for all the testimony, timing, and inconsistencies. For those willing to look closely, the case suggests not fantasy, but an unfinished record, one that still demands honest inquiry. If this phenomenon was real, and the evidence suggests it was, then the Mantell incident stands as an early warning that humanity may have been encountering realities it was not prepared to name, let alone understand. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is not only the loss of Captain Mantell, but the possibility that truths of profound significance were quietly folded into simpler stories for the sake of comfort and control. Thank you for tuning in to They Are Watching Us. Join us next time as we continue exploring the known and the unknown. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're as into UFOs and all that cool disclosure stuff as I am, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. It really helps me keep the good content coming your way on this super fascinating topic. Seriously, I appreciate it so much. Catch you later.